guys, so I know last week you guys talked about ecosystems, and so today we're going to be creating our own ecosystem within a jar. So before we get started, I want to make sure you guys know the exact definition of an ecosystem. So go ahead and think about that before I tell you, just to make sure that you do know. So hopefully you're able to think of an answer within that time given, but if not, I'm gonna go ahead and go over it too. So every day we're surrounded by an ecosystem. It's basically all the living things and non-living things in a designated area and how they interact with one another to create a balance. So when we say ecosystem, we're talking about the animals, the insects, the plants, as well as the water, soil, air, light, and temperature. So one thing you definitely need to remember is that all parts of an ecosystem must work together to thrive, so they're all codependent. So just as a little example of an ecosystem, I'm bringing up my little friend Osmo here. In case you don't know, he is a ferret, very sweet boy. This type of ferret that he is isn't the kind I'm going to be talking about, but just to show him off a little, I brought him in. So in the Great Plains, ferrets are actually key indicators that they have a healthy ecosystem because they help manage the size of prairie dog populations, and they're also a large food source for predators like owls, coyotes, and badgers. So when they recently were endangered, it actually threw off the ecosystem greatly, and so that just shows the importance of the balance of an ecosystem. So now that the whole spiel about ecosystems and the importance of balance is over, let's start making our own. So feel free to either take notes or do it along with me right now. So before we get started, we're going to be making a terrestrial ecosystem. There's a lot of different kinds. There's aquatic ecosystems if you want to put fish in there, maybe a turtle, frogs. It's all up to you, but I'm going to be making a terrestrial one today, and if you want to follow me, you can. I'm going to get started on the materials. So you're going to be needing a jar. That's going to be the home for your ecosystem. You're going to need some soil, which I have in this other jar. You're going to need some activated charcoal. You can ask your parents as to where you can get this. I got mine from online. You only need about a tablespoon of that. You need some pebbles. And then you also need your own plants. I have a succulent here, also a cactus, but this is totally depending on what kind of ecosystem you want to make. So the first step, we're going to get our jar here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in our pebbles. So the pebbles are going to be acting as a base, and it will allow the water to collect at the bottom so that the plants that we do add in here won't drown. So now I'm going to be adding that tablespoon of activated charcoal. And the use of activated charcoal is so that it can prevent fungi from building up inside of your ecosystem, and it just keeps it clean. It filters the water and all the impurities. Now we're going to be adding our potting soil. You need enough to cover the plant's roots. So another thing you can add here is compost. So compost is important to give your ecosystem the nutrients it needs to grow the plants. So for compost, you can use old eggshells. You can just mash them up and put them in here, or you can use tea bags, which I have here. I'm not going to add it in just yet though. So next you're going to have the plants of your choosing. So there's cacti you can put in succulents, and you can put in moss. You do really want to make sure that whichever ecosystem you're making, you're staying consistent throughout. So the type of soil needed for moss is not the same as the type of soil that you would need for cacti or succulents. So in this case, these are already potted. These are my mom's. I'm not going to touch it. But I have this little succulent here. You can add as many plants as you want. So you do want to make sure that you don't add too much, because too many plants can not give it enough room to grow, and so on. So what you're gonna do is create a little hole within the soil. Take out your plant of your choosing. You can also, this is a store-bought plant, but you can also just go outside and take plants from outside, but make sure that the roots are still in there so that they can grow. So I'm taking this succulent out. You can see its roots are still attached. And I'm just plopping him in there and making sure that the roots are covered in the soil. This is a pretty minimal ecosystem that I have right here. In reality, you would probably want to add more plants, maybe some more sticks, maybe more pebbles, whatever you want. I know people have added bugs to their ecosystem so that they could observe how they adapt and run the ecosystem within the jar. But make sure if you do, don't add too many bugs or animals because they can use up all the oxygen. This is a self-sustaining ecosystem and it's going to be closed off. But yeah, once you have everything you want inside of your jar, make sure you add some water and then close it off and put it in the sunlight. Another cool thing I wanted to mention before leaving is that this is really a self-sustaining ecosystem because when you put in water, we'll do a little throwback to the water cycle. It's going to have its own water cycle within here. So when it's in the sunlight, the water is going to evaporate. It's going to be at the top of the jar as condensation. And then as the bottle builds up, it's going to get heavier and then drop down as precipitation again. And then it has its own little water cycle, which is really cool. So yeah, thank you for watching. And if you do this, let me know how your ecosystem has grown over times, if the plants continue to grow and get bigger, if you add any bugs, which ones end up surviving and thriving inside of your own ecosystem. And yeah, thank you for watching and hope you have a good weekend.